All right, guys, this says the heartbreaking case of John Hron. John Hron. Hopefully I'm saying his last name right. Hron. The heartbreaking case of John Hron. I'm just going to say Hron. By the channel Disturbin. This was requested by Underground. Let's go ahead and check it out, guys.
This case takes place in Sweden on the 17th of August, 1995. John Hron was a...
Oh, it is Hron. I pronounced it right. All right. 1995, so I was only 1 year old when this happened.
14-year-old who lived in Kungälv, Sweden. Those who knew John described him as a good-natured young lad and a very promising canoeist. John often competed in various competitions and did very well for himself. In a national competition in the summer of 1995, he was able to win a bronze medal. His success was often written about in local and national news. Due to this success, some of those in his school would become jealous, and some would bully him due to their envy. The school that John attended had somewhat of an issue with students that were a part of racist organizations.
Oh gosh.
For example, a number of students were a part of the Swedish White Aryan Resistance.
Oh really, Underground?
It was these students that would threaten John on a regular basis. At the end of the 1980s, a new Nazi movement had developed in Sweden. This movement rapidly expanded during the 1990s and was able to recruit many young people.
Damn.
With mail-order merchandise available, many of these young people hung Nazi propaganda and memorabilia in their rooms.
Oh God.
Bullying aside, John had a particular dislike towards these students because of their beliefs. He had a strong dislike for those who engaged in this new wave of Nazism. John's father would later say that these students threatened John for well over a year. However, the school did very little to put an end to the torment. One bully at the school that would often try to intimidate John and had even threatened to kill him was 15-year-old Michael. However, if Michael...
And these are more than just bullies. These people won't leave John alone. The school did nothing? Come on, what the heck? If John was being threatened this badly by other kids at school, the school should have stepped in and done something.
Ever tried anything, John would always stick up for himself, and was known to stick up for others too. On the 17th of August 1995, the summer holidays were coming to an end, so John and a good friend of his, Christian, decided to go camping by a lake. Right after finishing putting up their tent, the two teens were relaxing next to a fire, blissfully enjoying their time before school would start again. Although, coincidentally, the bully from John's school, Michael, was also at that very same lake.
Oh, great.
He was there with 3 other friends. 18-year-old Daniel Hansen, who was the ringleader of the group, 17-year-old John Billing, and an 18-year-old that was only referred to as BM. All 3 of Michael's friends were members of Nazi groups, and they had all been drinking heavily. Daniel in particular was known to be extremely violent. He was constantly getting into fights, had hit his girlfriend, and had even been convicted of stabbing someone in his youth. The 4 happened to see Christian and John's fire from their position at the lake. Michael was told by his older friends to go over and see who was there.
Gosh, frickin' John. He's just trying to relax at the lake and have a good time. These frickin' idiots are they going to kill John? I've got a bad feeling they're going to do something really bad to John.
Upon seeing John, he ran back to his friends and suggested that they all go over together and attack John. All 4
You freaking
agreed.
Idiot.
With beers in hand, they walked round to where John and Christian were. One of them, holding a full can of beer, took aim and threw the can into John's face as hard as he could. The 4 then began to savagely beat him and demanded that he say, "I love Nazis." John refused this demand, and so they continued to attack him. They punched him, kicked him, and stomped on him. One of the attackers would later brag that John was so scared that his eyes were extremely wide, and that he was clearly in a great amount of fear. But then the 4 helped him up. grabbed him a beer, and began talking to him in a civil manner, apologizing for the beating they had given him. But this was just part of their sick and twisted plan, as they assured John that they would stop.
So they gave John a beer and then tried to act like they were his friends, like, oh, we're so sorry, and they're trying to be nice to John. This is just all part of their dumb plan.
One of the attackers came behind him and punched him in the back of the head.
Oh
They
my
continued the
God.
attack. John could do nothing but try his best to defend himself, an almost impossible feat against 4 people. Outnumbered and held at knife point, Christian was forced to watch his friend be mercilessly beaten. The attackers then grabbed all of John and Christian's belongings, put them inside the tent, and set the tent alight, destroying absolutely everything. One of them picked up a piece of wood that was on fire and hit John in the back of the neck. The 2 begged to be let go. The 4 attackers ignored these pleas and continued to beat John. They would pretend to be sorry.
This is so sad, guys.
And then would continue the attack. They did this for hours in what was a truly horrific act of torture. The 4 then pushed John into the lake. Now fully in the water, John was able to swim away from them. John Billing and BM ran around to the other side of the lake so they would be able to grab him if he tried to get out and run. However, Michael and Daniel waited.
Bam 56, it's unfortunately true. People are sick, have nothing better to do than assault, kill, or hurt other people. I mean, there's a lot of evil people in this world. There's a lot of bad things going on in this world, and it's just really fucked up how some people enjoy hurting other people. It's just like they like to do it. It's just sad.
With Christian, in case John swam back to that area. John was a strong swimmer and would have had no issue in getting away. But as he was swimming in the water, he heard Michael and Daniel shout to him, "We will kill your friend if you don't come back." Christian was then forced to cry out, "Please come back or they're going to kill me."
Oh no.
John could have swam to safety, far away from his torturers, but upon hearing his friend in need, John swam back to the bank and got out of the water.
I'm sorry, guys. If I was John in this situation, I wouldn't have went back. That sounds terrible, guys. If I was with a friend and my friend was like, it sounds terrible, but do you escape or do you go? He's not going to be able to help his friend against 4 other grown-ass men. You know what I mean? What is John going to do? There's 4 people over there who were beating John up. He could swim across the lake and get out of there. I don't know, guys. If I was John, I don't think I would have went back because, like I said, it sounds terrible, but what do? Do you save your own life or do you go back and then both of you get killed? Rio, no, thank you for the $1 super chat. What do you guys think? I don't know.
Once John was back on land again, the 2 main attackers, Daniel and Michael, continued to viciously beat him until John fell to the ground unconscious. Even when he was unconscious, they continued to kick him in the stomach as hard as they could and repeatedly stomped on his head. They would later say that the violence they were inflicting upon John felt so good that they just couldn't stop. After they were done beating John,
all demons,
and as he lay unconscious on the ground, they rolled him into the lake and watched him as he sank and drowned. Michael and Daniel then met up with the other 2 that...
John was so badly beaten, they threw him in the lake, and he was so badly beaten that he wasn't dead at this point, but he drowned in the lake because he couldn't swim. He was so badly beaten. Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Went round the lake and told them that they had thrown John into the water whilst he was unconscious, joking around about how he sank like a stone. The 4 then packed up and made their way home. They left Christian alone and physically unharmed. Christian managed to make his way to a road and hitchhike home. When he got home in the early hours of the morning, he woke his parents up and told them the devastating news. They contacted the authorities and told them about the horrific murder. Christian was able to tell the police exactly who was responsible, and all four were swiftly arrested. Christian also led the police to the location where they had beaten John and thrown him into the water.
That's so
John's
sad.
body was found and
Damn.
his face was completely unrecognizable. As always, be careful when researching this case. There are some images of John on the internet, and it isn't nice to see. John's parents wanted the images to be made public to show everyone what the four attackers had done to their son.
Rest in peace to John, yeah.
John had been beaten so badly that the coroner said that he had never seen anything like it before, and that it seemed that John had been hit by a car. He had extreme injuries to his head and bleeding on the brain, along with extreme internal injuries and internal bleeding. A number of John's teeth had
all I have to say, guys, is I believe in God, and these four terrible humans who did this to John, trust me, they'll be dealt with one day by God. That's all I have to say.
Also been broken. The pain and fear John must have been in his final moments is just unthinkable. Those who inspected his injuries stated that even if John had not been thrown into the water, he would likely still have died from the beating. The same day they found John's body, the four attackers were questioned by the police. The ringleader, 18-year-old Daniel, was told to describe the events that had taken place the day before.
Yeah, Bam 56, the same demons, because, I mean, this is evil, demonic. They enjoyed torturing and beating up John. The same little voice in their heads that were saying, you like this, hurt John, beat him up, do this to John. Those same demons, Bam, are going to be laughing at the four of them. Like, ha, now you're here, now we're going to deal with you. You're probably right.
Daniel said, I think his name was John, and denied having any major involvement in the murder of John, but he would later admit to his part. The bully from John's school, Michael, spoke to the police and gave a full confession, describing exactly how he and his friends had beaten John, and took part in a reenactment of the murder for the police, even showing them how he and Daniel rolled John's body into the lake. The murder attracted enormous attention, and thousands of people took part in protests.
Hey, Big Sister Wolf, I'm not offended if you don't like barbecue sauce. I was just joking in the last stream. We all like different types of food. If you don't like barbecue, trust me, I'm not offended.
Marches across the country. On the 22nd of September 1995, the trial began. Despite pleas from John's parents and the public, the vast majority of the trial was kept behind doors. The media was not given access to report on the details. On the 2nd of October, a verdict was reached. The 18-year-old ringleader, Daniel, was sentenced to 8 years in prison for murder. 15-year-old Michael, the bully from John's school, was sentenced to 5 years for murder. The other...
Wait, did I just hear 8 years? I feel like people get much longer time in prison for lesser crimes, although this is in Sweden, not America. 8 years. The ringleader, the guy who was the ringleader was 18 years old, so he was an adult. He only got 8 years? 8 years doesn't seem like a very long time at all. When he gets out, he'll still be in his freaking 20s.
The two who left the scene before John was killed were found guilty of aggravated assault. One of them was sentenced to 10 months in prison.
Well, Bam, like I said, this is in Sweden, maybe crime is not as punishable in Sweden. 8 years? They killed John. They beat him to death. One guy got 5 years. 5 years in prison's nothing. 8 years? I feel like in the United States, people get caught with like drugs and they get like 10, 15 years in prison. 8 years for murder? That's crazy.
And the other 4 months in prison.
One of them got 4 months? That's like a little vacation in prison. Oh.
In prison, Michael was stabbed in the eye with a screwdriver by older neo-Nazis. They did this because he spoke to the police in detail about the murder. And inside prison, Daniel, along with other inmates, formed the Swedish version of the Aryan Brotherhood.
Wow.
When speaking about killing John, Daniel said, "I didn't even know John. If it had not been him, it would have been someone else." He then went on to say that he would not have committed the crime if he was sober. As for where these people are now, I couldn't find any information. John's father now keeps a framed portrait of John in the living room in his home.
It's freaking ridiculous.
He keeps boxes filled with photographs and newspaper clippings and awards that John...
Sweden's justice system sounds more effed up than America. Yeah, I don't...
John won. A movie has also been made about the murder of John, which is available to watch online. In an interview,
what's
John's
the name of the
father
movie,
said,
Underground?
"Of course, it would be easier to live if you could just forget. But once you become a dad, you're always a dad. You cannot escape it. John's murder has affected my whole life, and they haven't taken just John. It's the grandchildren and the whole piece that has been taken away from us."
That's
a non-profit
sad.
foundation was established in the memory of John. It's
just his name? Okay.
purpose is to work against youth violence in Sweden, and John's parents went around schools talking about the dangers of getting involved in such violent organizations.
Wow.
What is also disgusting about this case is that John's grave has been vandalized a number of times by neo-Nazis. The cases I cover are
People are
very dark,
sick.
and all of them are incredibly tragic. However, there are some details in some cases that just really get to me. The fact that these 4 killers bragged about how wide John's eyes were whilst he was being attacked because he was so scared is something that just left me feeling sick to my stomach.
That's freaking sad, man. A lot of these cases are really messed up, but they're really sad at the same time. You got to think about the mom, the dad, how it affected John's family, you know? Just ridiculous and freaking sad.